Welcome back to another episode of Dual Alliance with myself, Alicia Solomon, and Megan Hines, where we discuss everything the challenge. We are back to discuss episode 9 of the USA season on Paramount and CBS. This week was a snooze fest. I'm sorry, it was boring. But we're here to talk about it anyway because that's what we do. So we're gonna get into the snooze fest that was this episode, and basically just Chris.
Yeah. We come back into the house. Tyler was like knowing that it's gonna be a rocky road for him moving forward because now there's another big brother number down. But he was ready to really put up a fight. And then Michaela gets the ball rolling on this Chris storyline, telling him as a friend that people are skeptical about his moves. Um, Even though he's been telling her that he's survivor strong, and she calls it very weird that he's been doing this. But Chris said he was protecting also that's Corey, Josh, Fessy, and Sebastian. Didn't really care for the girls basically. And Michaela said she didn't trust what he had going on. So that's the foundation of what Chris has been doing thus far in this season.
Well, I mean, I think for this episode, because it started back when he started to be a little mouthy with Monty and Tyler after he came back from his elimination win. So I feel like it started then, and then he's just continued to build up whatever animosity he's had with those Big Brother numbers. But then he just became a full on weirdo after he noticed that, like, he really is trying to get all the numbers on his side. And yeah, it just culminated this episode to the point where I was just like, this man, I was right about him. Like, he's lame. He's just lame.
Yeah, cause I'm like he was really wallpaper for those first 2-3 episodes, and once he went to elimination and came back, it's just become very weird. But we obviously saw what else happened. We'll get into that later. We go into the daily challenge, and it is called speed jumps, where it's played in 2 different stages, and the players will jump on trampolines to see a board of numbers over a wall. And they will then add up all the numbers that they can see and race it over to TJ for a check. And the top 3 men and women who will do so move on to stage 2. Sebastian was the first guy to get his number equation correct, and he was very excited about that. He's like, "Yay! I can save myself. I can save Tori."
Does she need saving? Like, what?
I don't think so, because she's trying to save her own self. Just I don't know.
Whatever
He's
Draco
been
said.
weird this
Don't
whole
save her. She
time.
don't want to be saved. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Like, yeah. I just weirdos.
He's been infatuated for this whole time, and he's like, "Oh, I can save her." What leverage do you have? That woman has been on the show for 8 years at this point. Run the show for a while. She has more leverage than you. You can't save her. So bye. Um, Fessy was the second guy to get it. But everyone else, like right before Fessy and Chanel actually got their checks, were just coming up and getting everything wrong. And he just like wrong, wrong, wrong. And I'm like, is anyone to get this right? Because mapping is hard.
It's not hard. It's just that there's other circumstances that comes with it. I mean, it's not just them adding it up. And we know math
Yeah,
is not some of their strong suits. So it's not surprising that half the cast got it wrong.
yeah. And so like Chanel was the first woman to get the check, and she was the first one to advance to stage 2. Fessy ended up being the second guy done. Tori was the second woman done. And then the way that Josh ran over to TJ, it was giving a meme running. Like somebody, I don't remember which meme I was thinking about, but I just remember a specific meme of someone just running really fast to a point, and that was Josh running to TJ, and he managed to get a check correct.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Cool. I guess. I don't know what to say. This episode was so fucking whack. I'm sorry. Like I really have like limited commentary on it because it was just so terrible.
Yeah, it was very anticlimactic, but I really thought certain somebody was gonna go home, but I didn't think that was what happened. But anyways, Michelle was the last woman to make it to stage two. And in stage two, it's played on a semi truck, and the players will use a trampoline to jump to grab different colored flags, which have varying point totals. The green flag was 1 point, yellow was 2, and red was 3. That to grab those one at a time, and the top man and woman to score the most points would win. Sebastian went first. He got 9 points. Tori went second. And at one point, she caught a green flag, but landed really hard on her back on the outskirt of the trampoline, and it was very slow to get up.
That was probably the most concerning was people looked like they were injuring themselves really bad to a point where I thought like they were gonna exit the game. But it's kind of not new with Tori. She's done this last season as well, where she kind of has like a big fall or an accident, and it looks like she's gonna be down, and she just gets up and kind of shakes it off. So I'm glad that she was able to do that this time because she did fall pretty hard on her back, and that could have probably ended her game if she was probably older, if she wasn't as more ready to be on the challenge all the time as she is. So I think that kind of gave her the ability to bounce back. But it was a hard fall.
Yeah. And then Josh went next. He started well with 2 green flags, but ended up accidentally pulling down a whole string of flags because they said you can't pull down a whole string, and he ended up being the first person to do that. I was like, I knew someone would do that, and it just happened to be Josh. And then he ended up finishing with 5 points overall. So
Strategy really going into this, and it was, I mean, it was Josh like. It wasn't anything that was unexpected from him, to be honest.
yeah. And then Michelle went. She missed the first two. Very poor performance, and she only had 2 points. But what shocks me was Chanel, because she was like, "Yo, I played basketball. I can use some of my skill set from that." I'm like, I'm thinking she played like center and she was blocking folk. That skill set didn't help her at all because she only got 1 point.
Yeah, it was definitely rough. I think the comment she made before was that she was able to rebound, and she was going to be able to use that to kind of jump up and get to the flags. And again, I think she even went last. So my thing is that you see people go last, and I think Fessy said it best. When you watch people go ahead of you, it gives you an advantage to see how to play, what to do, what not to do, and how you can leverage your own self in it. And Chanel gassed herself up, and she went too damn fast on the gas because she had nothing. And I was kind of like, damn. And I was rooting for her to win, honestly, because of course, I'm rooting for Chanel at this point. But yeah, that was rough to watch. And she did worse than Michelle, and Michelle only got 2 points. So that's what was killing me. I was like, girl, at least you could have got like one more and get over on like Michelle, but she couldn't even do that.
Yeah, like even Desi was like, "Yo, like she did worse than Michelle." I'm like, "Damn!" Like Michelle was catching it straight, but hey, it is what it is. And Michelle was like excited at the end, like, "Yo, I didn't get third, I got second." But Fessy went last, and like you said, like he knew, like he saw everybody what they did, and he decided he wasn't gonna jump unless he got to the point where the flags were, and just grabbed them. Um, and he started off hot with getting the one red flag first. He ended up just grabbing another red flag and the yellow one together as well, and he was just racking up points, surpassing Sebastian's 9 points. I think he like got like 15 or 16 at the end. I didn't see Messy's point total, but I just knew he just ran away with it.
I think he got 19. Honestly, he got up there pretty quickly because he was just grabbing those red flags, and getting all the points. Like he surpassed Sebastian very quickly. So I mean, shout out to Fessy. He has strategy going into it. He didn't jump as much as people were making it seem like they needed to, and just honestly using his height and his his brains for once to kind of get what he needed in the win.
Yeah. So with that being said, Fessy and Tori are the winners, and they would nominate 2 players for elimination. Fessy off the bat knew that Tori was going to stick with saying Alyssa and Tyler as nominations, but he wasn't going for it because like you're not about to just like be the dead horse on Big Brother basically because there's only 2 of them left. He's like, I'm not having it. So we'll see. Well, we saw how their deliberation went, where he got what he got. So I was happy for that. And then Bananas did say that Fessy and Tori winning meant that he was safe. And then it was cut to Fessy saying that I want to get either Bananas or West out. Like, I'm coming for them because they've had their time. They got to go, basically. And he's like, if it was up to me, they would be going in. But Tori is going to try and save them. And Sebastian. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, Fessy's right. Honestly, like I feel like I agreed a lot with Fessy in this episode because it is what it is. Like when it comes to Bananas and West, exactly what he said, which is they're gonna get to the end because they're gonna use their relationships and social game to maneuver them to the end, and then all of a sudden they win and go around gloating about how they win every single time. So Fessy's absolutely right to try to get him out now and make a move. I said this a couple weeks ago. I feel like they should have banded together before this though, because now the numbers are really only Survivor and Challenge vets. Big Brother's dwindled out. So it's really not that many people to kind of garner those votes. But honestly, they should have came together a long time ago to continue to get the challenge vets out. I think once they stopped going for the vets after early on in the season, it kind of just made it easier for the vets to coast the rest of the season, which they are now. So that's why they have the numbers. But I wish that Fessy was able to kind of strong arm Tori into voting for one of the bigger players because honestly, it is time for them to get out of the house. But of course, Tori wants to save no one. She doesn't even want to save herself. Like we saw that with her season with Danny. She didn't even want to save herself and her own partner. So Tori's just there for the vibes, for an appearance fee. I don't know. She says she wants to win 250 to bring back to her family, but she could fool me because the way she plays her game, it don't even feel like that. So I don't even know what she's really there for, but to have a presence on TV. But Fessy, on the other hand, I can see him playing his strategy in his game, and I could respect it at this point because it is what it is. Like they need to get out the house.
Yeah, and I'm like thinking like if we'll vote later on. We'll get into it, but Fessy did say that he would leverage some wiggle room for his picks because he's not trying to have her strong arm him in the conversation. And then Chris FaceTimed his wife, celebrate their anniversary virtually. Skipping over that. And then we get to Tori and Fessy's deliberation, where we said like she was trying to avoid basically saying also all of Survivor saying Cassie. Well, basically also Cassie too. Basically all Survivor girls for her were off the table. She just want to pull in Alyssa. But Fessy was like, we're not doing that. I'm not gonna say Alyssa. I'm not gonna say Tyler. Because they're the only 2 Big Brother people still in this house. There's no reason for them to put them in again. Stupid. So they go back and forth. She brings up Chris as an option. He's like, well, we're roommates, but I'll bite the bullet and say Chris. And also Chris had him highly rated. Chris had a top 4 people in his head that he was looking after, like he mentioned. And Fessy was one of those people. I don't think Chris is highly rated for Fessy as much. Granted, they are roommates.
Yeah, I mean, Fessy is done worse to people that he was quote unquote friends with. So I don't think it should be a surprise to Chris that he was literally collateral damage in their quote unquote friendship or relationship or alliance, whatever he wanted to call it. I don't know, but it's not surprising to me. Like Fessy went that way, and it needed to be done. It's really nothing he could have did at that point, because who was he gonna vote for? He couldn't really vote for get his way with voting for Western Bananas, so he just went the route which is getting numbers out in Survivor. Like, it is what it is for Chris, and I think when Fessy tried to apologize and try to go over, like why he couldn't do it, and Chris was basically like, "Well, you could have just not did it." Honestly, yeah, but he did it anyway. So what next? Like, I just feel like the whole apologizing when people vote for someone and try to explain and over explain, like, we over understand this at this point. We don't need to keep going around and around about why you had to vote this way. You voted, move on. Like,
Yeah.
I hate that part of it.
Yeah. And then Tori showed it basically all of the City Garden girls, and Cassie ended up being the vote for the women. So we have a Survivor duo and elimination, and Chris and Cassidy. Um, right when they showed it, they ran. Michaela came up and people were running up like, "Oh, y'all safe, y'all good." Tori also over explained to Cassidy, and I'm like, why are you explaining this to her? I get it, y'all also are roommates as well, but the game is the game. You're not, granted, y'all roommates, y'all not as close. And like Tori said, she's saying like, oh, I made a deal basically with Desi, Michaela, and Chanel that I wouldn't go after them. And then Michelle, she's not gonna go after either. So I'm like, you were just Kathy was just the lone one out, basically. And I'm like, sure. I don't know why she had to tell her that she was protecting the other girls over Cassidy. She should have said something else. Because now that kind of puts a little bit of heat on those three.
Shows Cassidy where she stands with the rest of the people in the house, and she is other other than Alyssa, she is the weaker woman in the house. So at some point, it's not looking good for her. Like, it is what it is, and I just think she's already had a chip on her shoulder since that whole West situation happened, and she just thinks that everyone has it after her. So this is not going to help the situation any further for her. Like, she's just going to keep thinking like everyone's going after Cassidy, and it's like, girl, you just in the way. Honestly, get out the way.
Yeah. Um and it was like Michelle making points. Like that's literally what Michelle said. She was like, she's been on the island since she went after West, and that's just how it is. No one's gonna really work with her like that. And then Chris, when Fessy apologized, Chris was like, "This felt like a personal move against me," and he had no regard for Fessy's word. And it wasn't personal. You just happened to be the one that ended up being the vote. And Fessy was not thinking it was personal. So why I hate people saying, "Oh, it's personal." Nothing in the game is personal. Y'all are work friends. Just how Fessy did Nelson and them. They are work friends at times, but now they're cool. But at this point, y'all just met. Y'all are work friends. Y'all are not outside of this game friends. If Fessy want to do what he got to do, like you said, he shouldn't have apologized like that. It's not personal. It's just game, like he said. And you just take it with a grain of salt and just move on. So after that, they go to the club, and Lithic Courage gets to Sebastian, and him and Tori are talking, and he's like scheming to put in a strong vet into elimination. He's like, "What if we target Corey?" And Tori's like, "I don't know about that, because if you keep wrapping your map, where it's gonna get back, and it's gonna be bad for you."
Yeah, I think Sebastian started panicking, to be honest. And once he let it known to Tori, which I get that he's messing with Tori and he has a situation with Tori in the house, but honestly, like saying something like that, knowing that she's cool with Corey, she's gonna save Corey, it's really odd to me that he would even decide to let that information out to her. But now, not only just to her, he went back now and reiterated the same thing to Chanel, Michaela, and the rest of the ladies. And it's like, okay, now you are making it known who you're targeting, which again, I don't mind them targeting the vets. He's Survivor. The rest of the girls there were Survivor that he was talking to. That's completely fine. And but if you want to play a game like that, but why would you tell Tori to first, like the first part of it is where you kind of losing me. And once Sebastian kept running his mouth and kept running the nonsense, like he kept doing it to other people and kept running his mouth and saying things to other people, which is like, all right, he's really not that smart, to be honest. And he needs to be quiet because he's glad he's should be glad he only has Tori in the house that's protecting him for the most part at that point, because that really is his only saving grace. Like he easily could be a top target after the fact.
Yeah, and I'm like, of all people, you're gonna say Corey. Granted, I'm saying you're scared of that man. You don't want to see him in the final. But the easy pick would have been Josh, and not a lot of people would actually. If you hear me,
I can hear you.
I'm still.
No, I
Is my
hear you.
mic? My mic. Okay, but the easy pick is Josh. If you want to go after a veteran who's the easy out, you don't need Josh in the final. You can uh, do that. Let's get more chaotic and just choose Josh. Who are people? You don't bother nobody. Granted, you don't want to see him in the final because you scared of that man. But the easy bet, rile up Josh, get him in. That's the bet I would have tried to say, like, hey, let's go, Josh. Granted, not to don't say that to Tori, obviously, because Tori's not the friend of Josh. But tell the Survivor girls because they don't care for him because they've had issues with him. He said their name because, like, Michaela's like, Corey has not said our names. Why would we do that? Josh, on the other hand, he's made it known he don't care for a lot of them. He could have been the target.
Yeah, but I don't even know if um Sebastian was thinking that far. Like I think that because if Corey would have went in, Corey is beating Chris at any moment in time. Like so I don't even know why that was even a thought for Sebastian, to be honest. Like he was just saying whatever. Like you said, the liquid courage got to him and he was just talking.
Yeah. And so, um, okay, moving on. To the next day, Michaela did tell Kathy that
I can
Chris
hear
is
you,
pushing
Megan.
for. You can't hear me now?
No, I'm
No?
reading your lips. I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Speak.
The next the
Okay.
next day, Michaela was telling Cassidy that Chris was pushing for a girls' day and said that Cassidy said what Chris said that Cassidy had the greater chance of losing if she goes into elimination. And also told her that Chris was saying Chanel's name and her name to Corey. And then they were comparing us was like, oh, Cassie's been saying Michelle's name as well. I'm like, well, Chris has been yapping his mouth. These Survivor guys just be yapping their mouths this season. And it's like, bro, can y'all shut up? Did How did y'all win y'all seasons if y'all talking this much?
Well, Survivor is more of a talking game. Like you have to talk yourself into getting people to not vote for you. And so, yeah, I mean, I can see why they're talking a lot. Like they don't know how to play the game, and it's also different socially in playing this game than it is Survivor. So, I'm not surprised they're showing the true rookie colors in how they're playing this game. But honestly, Chris running around telling people five different versions of things, it's like I don't know if he thought that no one was going to speak with one another, and I think he underestimated the power of just people talking to each other and having that political connection with each other. Like, yeah, these people may not be aligned, but something is going to come back some way, somehow, whether it be from one person or another. And then people just start piecing things together to see what's really going on and where the source is coming from. And I think the funniest part was when Sebastian got caught and then tried to lie and say it was Chris. And really tried to scheme his way out of that whole thing with Corey. And it's just like Corey, to his credit, was like, I don't believe him, but I'm gonna just let him get it off because it is what it is. Like, it's no harm, no foul at this point. But I see the game that you're playing, and it's just the two peas in a pod, and Chris and Sebastian. This whole episode was just like mind-numbingly boring, but also just funny to see how bad they are at playing this game.
Yeah, I'm like we had the better men was mostly on the first season that were competent. Some of them not as much, obviously, but they did well. These two, they're just yapping. And granted, I feel like on their season they had to do that, but for the most part, even like within, can you hear me? Within their like tribes and stuff on Survivor, they had to do that with their alliances because Survivor is different with alliances. You can like talk as much as you want with any of your alliances and do that because that's the thing that's happening on Big Brother right now for Survivor alum. But she's making alliances and talking, and that's not boding well either. But with Chris and Sebastian, they don't have any alliances like that, so they can't be talking recklessly like this because Chris is also throwing shots at the Survivor girls, and I'm like, you're throwing shots at people that were protecting you as well. That's stupid. And now they're just checking notes. I'm like, oh, we know that you're trying to throw shots at us and trying to plan to get you out. That's not the case. So they really are trying to be very strong. And this man is out here just being weird. I'm gonna move on. So, you got through the conversation of Corey and Sebastian. I was just in my mind, I'm like, it's very weird, like that Sebastian even tried to pin the Corey thing on Chris when Chris literally said he don't want to see Corey in a like one-on-one like that. So that didn't make sense for Sebastian to do that. So that's the L for Sebastian. And then Chris ran to Bananas, West, and Josh to try and figure out what to do. And he was like, I want to push for a girl nation. And he was saying, I want to pin in Survivor Girl, basically. And Michelle walked in and she was like, I heard you was talking about me. Why are you doing this? Because I have no issue with you. And he just kept tanking his game in that room. It couldn't hold no water because they're looking at him just, what are you doing? You're talking, you're lying. No one can trust you at this point.
Yeah, it just got to a point where literally everyone saw Chris's ploy in the house and how bad he was at just containing his lies. And honestly, it just backfired on him to a point where he couldn't back himself out of that corner. And it's no surprise. Like I said, his energy seems lame to begin with, so I'm really not surprised that this is the outcome for him. But honestly, like, he's not thinking long term. Like, even though he's voting in a way where people are going to have to, decide if they want it to be a girl's day or a guy's day, whatever, that doesn't even really count as much because one vote can get you voted into the hopper. So that whole situation is already dumb to begin with. But the fact that he doesn't know whether or not he's going in and if he wins or not, like what the outcome is going to be and how long lasting like his gameplay is, which is where I think he's just losing me, and it's just not going to get any better. Like whether he wins or loses, comes back or not, like people are not going to look at him the same.
Yeah. And now he's just on an island by himself. And how he pulled himself up, I don't know. We'll see. Um, and but then Chris was like very like down on his luck when he went back to the room with Fessy. Fessy's like, the game's not over. Like if you go in, you have a chance to come back. Like I can't believe Fessy really is being what's reason this season. Like it's growth. to see, and I like it. And I've like we've been agreeing with him like this whole time, this episode and stuff. I'm like, you're right. Like yes, you are a nomination to go in. If it is a guy's day, but to fight your ass off and get back in the house, it don't matter if you're about to be on the island by yourself. Like your game is not over. There's still a couple weeks left. There's still a final to get through. We'll see how you fare, but like you have still a chance to come back in this house. Don't be groveling over it because if they make the guy's day, they're not gonna vote in a strong guy like a challenge vet. It's most likely it's gonna be Sebastian because he's been yapping his mouth too. And for you, if it's physical, that's an easy bet. If it's mental, I don't know. But you have a chance of coming back, even if it's Sebastian. So just sit there and just get ready to go in and have the mindset to come back and just shake things up, basically. And so we go to the arena, and the winner picks of Chris and Kathy come out, and we get into the Hopper votes, where Sebastian got 6 votes, Alyssa got 1 vote, Tyler got 5 votes, and Bananas got 1 vote. The Hopper proceeds to choose Sebastian as the person, so Kathy gets to come back and play. Kathy did say it was gonna be very awkward. Going back to the room with Tori because Tori voted her in, but it is what it is. But we're getting Sebastian versus Chris. You're on mute, but you want to say something?
I said lame on lame.
Okay. I didn't care who came back because good riddance to both of them in this. But they're playing Trick Trick Boom, and this is the reappearance of some fireworks. They are using this in explosions. I would say you're using this in elimination to get this going. But the guys are going to start on a giant tires that are full of balls. Then they'll race down to get barrels that have a flat top on the top of them. And then we'll go back to their towers and try to make the perfect trick shot to bounce on 3 panels into colored barrels. Once a shot is made, they'll attempt to make another shot on 5 of those panels. And once all 5 of those panels are hit into the black barrel, that person will win and come back into the game. I had no dog in this fight because I don't care for these two, but it was just funny to see how Sebastian was really gun ho and like was really quick to figure it out and then just go and start throwing a ball. And I'm like, it's not a game of fast pace. This is a game of just making sure you get the trick right. And that's what Chris did on his end. Like he figured out the angles and then took his time with that, then got to work on that.
Yeah, I wasn't watching intensely or closely to see who was doing what. I just know that people were rooting for Sebastian, but no one was really rooting for Chris. And it kind of was just a free for all after the first shot. And once Sebastian was kind of moving things and trying to readjust, everyone was like, "What are you doing? Like, kind of chill out, don't do that." Trying to figure out what his strategy was. And Chris was just playing it cool the whole time. And at some point, Chris just ended up miraculously hitting his shot. And that was kind of the end of it. And everyone was like, damn, you could kind of see Tori's face and just, how she was sad or whatever. And, people were just like, oh, well, it's kind of over. Like, it is what it is. And I think in that moment, like, the energy kind of was just like, everyone was giving a fake half-ass clap, like, oh, Chris, congratulations. Like, cool. So it kind of just ended on a flat note. And once he walked back to the group and to try to go back into the house, it was kind of like, damn, like, now you made your bed and you have to lie in it. And they're going to target you every single time. So good luck with that. You better win at least one of these dailies coming up, or else it's going to be clipped for you.
Yeah. I was like, poor Rocco, like for both of them. But Chris comes back, dead man walking. Like I think Desi said that, and it's just gonna be an uphill battle for Chris. I'm moving forward in the game. Um, he has to pick pieces. He got to repair those relationships with the girls, especially the Survivor girls, because he had no reason to try and throw them under the bus. Like, right? And my thing is too, if you try and throw in the Survivor girls, you don't have the numbers to attack them. So that didn't make sense to me. But it is what it is at this point. Like you can just go back and try and figure out those relationships, and we'll see how that goes. But him trying to go after the Survivor girls, I'm like, okay, but who is gonna vote with you for that? That didn't make sense. So yeah, that's the episode. But really quick in that preview, a lot of people were crying for different reasons. Like the daily got people crying, but then Joshua's crying over spilled milk. I don't know if it feels like a spoiler that one of either bananas or lettuce are about to go on a chopping block, and he got to choose between one of them, and he's crying over that. And I'm like, get over it.
I mean, it's Josh. I don't. Who's to say who it was? But he's emotional as it is. So I don't know. Like I can't guess. We'll see. We'll see next week.
Yeah. So we're going to get into some of the tweets from this episode. A lot of interesting, funny ones as well. The first tweet, Sebastian saying Corey hasn't done much. It's hilarious because the same could be said about him.
That's true. That is very true. He just came back.
Yeah. But even like Corey, he won one. Yeah, he won. Yeah, he won that one challenge. Sebastian's won a few because of the blue team, but other than that, you haven't made any noise. So you're just there. The next one, Faisal, professional slam ball player showing you how to use a trampoline.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We did see him on ESPN doing slam ball over the summer, and I was like, "What is this?" But I mean, I guess he did use his skill. He was using his strategy. He wasn't trying to jump too much because it wasn't necessary to get that much momentum, and he's already tall. So, I mean, kudos to him.
Yeah. The next one is oh no, not that one. Sebastian wants to roll Survivor now on episode 9 when he's been hiding in Tori's purse the entire season.
That is true. I don't have words. I don't have words. I don't wanna go in on somebody. I really don't. It's a nice day outside. I don't want to go in on anyone, please.
I know what I thought about. It just came to me. He's the Rufus to Tori's Unstoppable.
Nah, we ain't even gonna do Rufus like that. That's crazy. We not even gonna do Rufus like that. Like Rufus was chill. We not even gonna do him like that.
I know. I'm sorry. Rufus has to catch a stray, but that's what it's giving this whole time. In the last tweet, Tori clearly doesn't want to win the way she's playing the game. Because why are you trying to save? Granted, I love the fact that she's trying to save the 3 black women in the game, but they gonna beat you. That's all.
I mean, she already knows what's at stake because they have the numbers essentially. So whenever they get the opportunity to win or come back, like she's gonna be main target. She's trying to stay under the radar so that she's not in the hairs of these women because she knows like most of them can keep up with her and possibly beat her. But she's just been winning the daily challenges, so it's given her the ability to have power. But honestly, I'm not mad at her kind of trying to keep it to where she's not, burning any bridges with them. Because long term, it could hurt her in her game.
Yeah. I'm glad she's not going after them, but it's just funny that she isn't. So I'm like, you could just step into the villain role and just do it, but she's not. Cause like she can just target her roommate, target Michelle, let them two go, and then it'll be a free for all with her and the other three. So yeah, those are all the tweets as well from this week.
Well, thank you so much for that. We will be back next week to discuss more of the challenge. You would say season 2 on Paramount Plus and CBS. I think that we have like 2 more episodes left, so it's really not that much going on. Finals is coming up soon. Um, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can at Two Lines Pod. You can follow us on YouTube at Two Lines Podcast. You can follow Megan on Twitter at Megan Hines. And you can follow myself at ace_s5 on Twitter. And again, we'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for listening and see you guys. Bye.
Bye.